Oh, that's what I should have checked for, where the mic shows me where my face voice is coming out of. Damn it. Okay, let's do this. Is it live? Boom. Mic shows me where my face voice is coming out of. Hey, I can hear me upon me. Hello? Adeline Proul says, hello, sound. Yay, sound. Ah, it's working now. Works. We can hear you now. Yay. Yay. Good. Yes. I can't read any more of those. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I had a little technical error. The technical error was I was talking for about 20 minutes with no sound on because I didn't do a sound check. We should always be doing sound checks, right? Great, just great, great, well done me. So what I was talking about to nobody, it's just sad, it's just so sad, is emotional literacy and what can happen over time with trauma and your emotional literacy and your capacity to access emotions. What happens over time when you are traumatized is that your capacity to access emotions diminishes. And where you should have this beautiful, full scale, full color palette of emotions, you actually end up whittling down to just 3 emotions. Could be sadness, rage, and then just despair. The second thing that starts to happen that diminishes your emotional literacy is that the brain starts to learn that emotions is where all the pain is. And the brain doesn't want to go to where pain is. The brain wants to stop pain. So you got two, it's not two effects. How many fingers am I holding up, Winston? One is that your emotions are now all being pulled in. The whole person pulls in, the whole individual pulls in. And when there is like really, really strong trauma, the whole person goes and pulls back away from the trauma. It's a safety response, and the emotions pull back. So where there would have been this huge catalog of different emotions and feelings that you could access and feel good about, you now can't. You whittle down to 3 baseline emotions, and they're not even really emotions. They're more like neurotic responses to the environment. And then the second thing that happens is the brain goes, see those 3 emotions that we've got residual, that we don't really want anymore, but like we have to have them. The system like won't work without that baseline software. I would take away all of that software, but we need that. Don't access it because I don't want it. I don't want feelings. Feelings bad. Feelings are bad. Feelings are not good. Feelings make me feel bad. Feelings make me feel out of control. So I don't want them. So even though just those 3 feelings that I've got left, block them because I don't need them. I don't want them. Take them away. What happens over time when you become emotionally illiterate? Well, you might just think in your little head now. I might think in my little head, so what? Emotions are a bit shite. They make you feel things that you don't want to feel. I might not want to feel all these bad things and go there and feel vulnerable in that. Because, I don't like feeling vulnerable. I like to feel in control. Okay. So rather than me hitting you from the angle of like, oh, you should feel vulnerable, you should be open, you should be emotionally intelligent. No, we're not going there because you've already heard all that and it didn't convince you. I'm going to hit you with another angle and I'm going to say that it actually makes you stupid. You are. So can you be really, really intelligent and out of touch with your emotions? Yes. Take a cerebral narcissist, a cerebral NPD who's very intellectual, who has a very high IQ. It's been measured. His IQ is huge. Her IQ is gargantuan. She's constantly thrusting it around in people's faces. But they have a diminished capacity to, for example, recall memories, because memory, it's been shown time and again in psychological research, functions on feeling. And when you don't have a feeling about the thing that you're trying to recall, it's really hard to recall. When I used to teach in the schools around the UK, And I was teaching kids all kinds of things like emotional intelligence and to get them ready for exams. There were kids there who the very thought of an exam would just shut them down because they were, you know, they're so traumatized. They couldn't take on any new information, but they weren't stupid. They just didn't have the capacity to take on new information because they couldn't access any emotions due to trauma, and therefore they couldn't remember anything. So what I would do is I would come in and sneakily I would get them to do exercises that would allow them to attach feelings to facts, feelings to data. People who are really, really good at maths or really, really good at science or really, really good at stuff that you're not interested in or I'm not interested in. Maths is a big one. I don't like maths. I'm not interested in maths. But to people who are really into mathematics, the number 6 has emotional significance to them, and it has a different emotional connotation to them than, I don't know, some really elegant prime number. I actually don't even really know what a prime number is, but they have a feeling about it, whatever the subject is that you find dull. So I always like language, but I've got feelings about language. I've got feelings about certain words. Certain words entertain me. Certain words are beautiful to me. They're elegant to me. And then I look at the word and it's like a code for human experience. And I want to know the etymology and I want to know where it came from. And what were the people who came up with that word? What did they think about the world when they said that word was the word for that thing? And I find that interesting. I have a feeling about it. You actually become stupid. So you can have a very, very high IQ. You could be an intellectual, cerebral narcissist, let's say. We'll use that as a convenient example because this channel has come to have that association with narcissism. People watching this have an interest in narcissism. And what do you find? Well, you find that hyper intellectual cerebral narcissists actually have problems with recall. Oh, they can recall the facts and the data of some weighty tome that they waded through when they were 16 that they used to impress people with, but they can't remember what they had for breakfast yesterday morning. They can't remember their wife's favorite song. They can't remember where they put the fucking car keys down. So you have a very narrow band of intelligence that actually the cultural coordinates that we live inside of today, modern Western capitalism that is now globalized, values very highly. That's hyper intellectual, ultra dry, machine-like mode of processing information and getting jobs done, but not so much respect for the more emotional intelligence. Now, when I'm saying emotional intelligence here, let's not get it twisted. I'm saying just your capacity to function in the world. Okay, so there's emotional intelligence that is about reading cues from other people. That a stand-up comedian reads the room, he sees he gets a good laugh for this, but not such a good laugh for that, so he goes back. That's okay, that's social, that's like social intelligence. I'm talking about the kind of emotional intelligence that just allows your brain to process information. When you are emotionally stunted, when through trauma you've become emotionally illiterate, what I'm suggesting is that your brain does not function as well. So don't become interested in emotional literacy because you're trying to become more vulnerable and more expressive and more of a human being. That's fine. If you want to do it for that reason, then do it. But you probably already would have done. If you actually want to overcome CPTSD and just get on with your life, if you actually want to be more successful at anything, even driving a car is going to be harder if you're not emotionally clear, if your emotions are stunted or if your emotions are twisted, because I claim when you are emotionally illiterate, your perception of reality is worse. When you're emotionally illiterate, your capacity to perceive reality is damaged. You will, it's corrupted. So you will distort, delete, and generalize. You will see less. The things you do see will be of a certain flavor and lead you to a certain conclusion. You will delete the things that deny what that emotional subtext that you're stuck in is already telling you. Say you're in post-traumatic embitterment syndrome. You've experienced a dreadful trauma and your emotions are reduced down to pain, fear, and sadness. That then creates a reality tunnel. That then creates a filter where you're only going to be looking at the pain, fear, and sadness in the world. I'm reading Prometheus Rising at the moment, which is a book by Robert Anton Wilson. The first chapter is all about the thinker thinks and the prover proves. Inside of your brain, you have a thinker and a prover. The thinker thinks their thoughts about reality, and then the prover comes along and proves that those thoughts that the thinker had are all true. So if you think that the color purple is only worn by grotesque extroverts, then that is what you're going to find in your reality. Your reticular activation system is going to pick up evidence that that is the case. If you think that middle-aged men wearing baseball caps are morons, then you're going to find data in the environment that confirms that pre-existing belief. The thinker thinks and the prover proves. So the emotions become whittled down to three things, and they're probably unpleasant emotions. That they're the three that you have in your emotional color palette. And then you're cutting off even from those. Your capacity to perceive reality is diminished. Your capacity to process reality effectively is diminished. And your capacity to thrive in the world is diminished. When Pete Walker was talking about overcoming CPTSD and going from surviving to thriving, he literally meant in the context of your whole life, but also in the context of your emotions. Your emotions have been pulled into this thing. This is me in survival mode. I will survive. I'll keep putting calories in my face and moving around just enough so that I don't die. But other than that, I'm not living. We coax and guide people back to the point where the emotions start to flow again, where blood starts to flow back through those atrophied muscles. We'll bring you out of the coma slowly, the emotional coma slowly, and you start to exercise those muscles and move around to the point where you can actually start to thrive as a human being again. Emotional literacy in this context is the sine qua non, the one thing you cannot do without, the prime mover that you cannot do without in terms of healing from CPTSD. It's the one thing you cannot do without if you want to not live your life as a zombie who's walking around, who's, yeah, alive, kinda, in the biological sense, but not really alive in the human sense. You're not enjoying your life. That's a lack of emotional literacy. So what do we do to get people emotionally literate again? Number one is to go through and explore the emotions and take people out of thinking and back into feeling. So I say to you, you had an unpleasant experience with your boss. How does it make you feel? And then you, as a client, because you're tricky, you're a ninja, you'll go, I think bosses shouldn't talk to their employees like that. And I'm like, no, but I asked you how you feel. And you responded with, I think, in a bit of philosophy that came straight out of here and not out of here. How did you feel about it? And you say, okay, well, I felt mad. Okay, you felt mad. What was behind the anger? Well, I also felt humiliated. I also felt disregarded. I also felt feelings of shame. And I also felt really fucking angry. I also felt really, really fucking scared. You're going, okay, so we've gone from anger, humiliation, fear. Oh, fear. Okay, you were really angry before, now you were experiencing fear. What's the fear of? And whatever the fear is, that will be warning you of something. Whatever the sense of shame is, that is warning you of something. The emotions aren't just there to piss you off and make you feel weak and vulnerable. They're there to help you. They're the unheard homies that have got your back. And they're trying to assist you to move forward, but you're not listening to them. Where they're trying to take you, safety. The prime objective of the unconscious mind, whenever you're getting neurotic thoughts or thoughts you can't get rid of or you can't heal, it's because your brain and your unconscious are trying to move you towards safety. But it's got a twisted sense of what safety is. If your thoughts about what your problem are locked in, and therefore your thoughts about what the solution is are locked in, and your thoughts about what healing will look like is locked in, I can't help you. Nobody can help you. Your thoughts about what your problem is, what the solution is, and what healing is are giving you the results that you are at today. Maybe your results are great, in which case, well, hey, you don't need me. You don't need this video. Best of luck to you. For the rest of us who are struggling a little bit to move forward, despite the books we've read, despite the fact we've been to counselors, despite the fact we've watched YouTube videos and made loads of changes, we're not getting the results that we want. So therefore, we might have to let go of our thoughts about what the problem really is, let go of our thoughts about what the solution is, and let go of our thoughts about what we previously thought healing was and go into a new place. It might be a psychedelic place. I don't know. I know that it needs to be multidimensional, and I know that people who are highly traumatized are in monodimensional. They're viewing the world in monochrome. So what does this exercise of drawing people back into their feelings and then asking what the feeling would say if it could speak do? It does two things. One, it allows you to flower back open again and explore the fact that you're not just angry. Behind that anger that you've shoved down and you pushed down into the little box over here, when you invite it out and it can open up, anger is actually comprised of 6 other emotions that have sub-emotions, and all of these sub-emotions have a message. And they have something that they're trying to guide you towards or away from. And that if we explore that in a safe, organic way, we're actually expanding the emotions and we're allowing you to safely reconnect with the emotions. Those are the 2 problems that we face. The emotions have been drawn down to 3 things, just 3 probably negative emotions, and we are cutting off from them. We're trying to separate from them. So through exploring emotional literacy, through going there in an organic and rational and systemic process, gently, we can actually start to fix this, and we can fix it rapidly. As your emotional literacy grows, so your capacity to overcome trauma, CPTSD, and heal and be more effective in the world again and to thrive again will also grow. Here's a little exercise for you. Think about a situation in the last 7 days, something small, minor, that has upset you or has made you feel not good. Write down on a piece of paper 7 words that are adjectives that describe emotion about that thing. For each one of those 7 words that describe an emotion, ask yourself the question, what would this emotion say if it could talk? What is this emotion trying to tell me about this situation? What is this emotion trying to push me towards or away from about this situation? And actually acknowledge that you have feelings, that it's okay to acknowledge feelings. It's not always a shitstorm, or that your life is going to fall apart every time you feel a feeling. It's okay for you to feel feelings. It will allow you to think more clearly. It will allow you to get away from people who would exploit you, and it would allow you to see that you're being exploited when you are exploited, and to have the strength to get up and say, I'm not putting up with this anymore, and I'm going to leave. With that, I shall go and look at some questions in the chat box. Does anybody have any questions? Melissa says, are you suggesting LSD? What if you're in addiction recovery? No, I'm not suggesting any form of drugs whatsoever. I would suggest a multidimensional psychedelic approach, but actual drugs, no, I can't recommend them. If you're in addiction recovery, then you just stay in recovery and stay away from drugs. Somebody else has written LSD is good for PTSD. It can be, it can also be awful. I've had very, very traumatic experiences on LSD. You should never take any psychedelics lightly, and you shouldn't take them without guidance from people who really know what they're doing. And really, you should just steer clear of all drugs. You don't really need them. You can have a psychedelic experience reading a good book. You can have a psychedelic experience by just telling yourself, I'm going to have a psychedelic experience now. I'm going to see the world in a new way with completely fresh patterns. And you can start to learn that skill of being able to do that. Okay. Hi, thank you for empowerings. Is ghosting specific to narcissists? I don't know what ghosting is. Ghosting is something that we do in martial arts where you're tracking the other person's movements. Are you talking about ghosting where people just stop texting each other? No, I think that's just people have learned to be very, very lazy and to treat each other as commodities. So if that's the ghosting you're talking about, then that's that. Somebody says kick the troll. I've not seen any trolling. Oh, I'm not really, I can see people saying weird stuff, but not really trolling. Do you think antidepressants stop emotional processing? I've never taken them, but I have had friends who are antidepressants, and they told me that it reduced their emotions down to a point where they were manageable, but they also felt numb, and their capacity to get things done was diminished. And that makes sense to me now, because I think that your capacity to get things done is directly related to your emotional literacy. You're responding to a troll. I don't know if there's a troll here. Can you repeat the questions you asked the emotions? Yeah, if you've listed the emotions, I would say, hello, emotion. And I'd imagine the emotion, perhaps you could even imagine it as an individual, as a part of you. And you would say, you know, what is it that you are trying to tell me? What is it that you're trying to get me to do? What is it that you're trying to push me away from? What is it you're trying to pull me toward? How are you serving me? These are good questions to ask. Do you have any experience with DID? Nope, not much, sorry. Google, you stupid, is trolling. Good lordy. Okay, I shall look. Oh, right. Oh, swearing. Good lord, that's a bit rude. I'm gonna have to block you. Silly. Put user in timeout. I'm gonna time you out, sir. Mark Hooker says, are you saying spoil yourself? Nope. I don't think I said anything that sounded like you should spoil yourself. Adeline says, diet, eat a good diet, and therapy, no drugs. That will help. Miko says, shrooms have been shown at studies to be able to repair damaged brain structures that are common in CPTSD. Yes, mushrooms have, and other psychedelics have as well. But I mean, I'm very wary of all drugs, but particularly psychedelics. I know it's kind of cool now to recommend psychedelics, and you know, I would say be very, very, very careful with that kind of thing. Rafal says, how do I know if my feelings are right one for the situation? Example, feeling anger at love, etc. You don't. It's very hard to know if you're still in a post-traumatic state. You don't know whether your feelings are appropriate or not, which then gives you another reason to shove them down. You're going to have to, you will want to fix the problem by going over here straight away, but you're going to have to go over here and do some stretching and some strength work with your emotions first before you can start to trust them again. And you realize they're kicking in at the right time, and then you can start to trust your intuition more. If you've just discovered you're a very frightened person, how do you stay and feel that emotion without going numb again? I don't know that you need to stay and feel that emotion. Like, you can acknowledge that you experience fear, but you don't need to experiencing fear in the here and now to acknowledge that you experience fear. You can feel safe, you could feel content, and then go, but sometimes I'm fearful. No, why am I fearful? And then break that fear down into the subcomponent emotions and ask those subcomponent emotions what it is they're trying to warn you from. What's up with the fear of disappointment? I find it hard to be the best version of myself because I'm afraid of disappointing anybody else. What if I can't live up to it? That just sounds like straightforward toxic shame. The fear of disappointment, I would say, what is it that you are? What is it that you're trying to keep me safe from doing? And it might say something like, making an idiot of yourself in front of other people. And then I would explore that. I'd go, well, how am I going to make myself an idiot in front of other people? What does that mean? What does that mean to you, emotion of toxic shame? What is it that can you expand on that? Have I ever gone out and not made myself an idiot in front of people? Is there a reason why I should be particularly scared of making myself an idiot in front of people right now? And hey, who knows? Maybe the feeling is giving you valid feedback. There could be a reason for that, and you need to explore that and look at that and look at the feeling and look at what's behind it. But that does sound like toxic shame. Okay. Okay. Do you think DMT can help? Apparently, it can help, yes. Okay. There is no... Karen says, okay, I'll eat those shrooms. You do whatever you want to do, homie. I don't really think you should take drugs or psychedelics, but, you're an adult, whatever you think you should do for yourself. How can one learn to become more narcissist friendly? Why would you want to do that? And get out of the cycle where they're constantly feeling provoked and victimized. Why would you want to become more narcissist friendly? I'm referring to situations where no contact isn't an option. You don't want to become more narcissist friendly. You want to be narcissist unfriendly for sure. Do you know anything about relationship OCD being related to narcissistic abuse? I don't know what relationship OCD is. I'm sorry. What if we don't know what the emotions are trying to tell us? That's why you ask them and you explore. You got to try. You got to do it and you got to try. Give it time. Try. Get your stuff and your things. You got to try. Richard, do you believe codependents will only ever be attracted to narcissists, or can they heal and be attracted to the non-disordered? Yes, they can heal and be attracted to the non-disordered. And your best way of doing that is to develop your emotional literacy in the way that I've described, because it will allow you to get in touch with what it is that you truly want, what you really want, and not what the neurotic thoughts and neurotic sort of pseudo feelings are driving you towards when you're in an emotionally illiterate state. So you want to get back to what it is that you actually really want, what you really feel, so that you're out here rather than being here. You're out here. There's a real you there rather than this, which is not the real you. Only this is going to be attracted to abuse. This is not attracted to abuse because it's busy doing other stuff. Do you think narcissism or psychopathy is a type of cancer of the mind? Don't know about the idea of it not being curable or treated. It seems too definitive. I don't know about the idea of it not being curable or treated. I don't know how useful cancer is, as a metaphor. Cells attacking cells in the wrong place. I don't know how useful a metaphor that is, but yeah, I don't think it's particularly useful to think of it as being non-curable. Sure, if the circumstances were right, who knows what could be done. Do you think someone in their 40s can heal from CPTSD? I think anybody can heal from CPTSD at any age. Does healing PTSD and becoming emotionally literate mean that we would be able to undo the retarded intelligence caused by abuse and PTSD? Yes, if you mean retarded as in the sense of the true meaning, like held back, delayed, and made tardy, then yes, yeah, it definitely 100% can. I've seen it myself, where 3-4 years ago, God, even 18 months ago, I make decisions and I go, that's just not an intelligent decision. That just was a bad idea. That was simply not a smart thing to do. And I know that. And I know that I knew that at the time that data was available to me. But CPTSD not forces us, but compels us to do strange things. Okay. Hi, Richard. Just want to say thank you for all your nuggets of information. No problem at all. Last question will be, isn't emotional literacy also just a step towards desensitizing ourselves to the trauma and those feelings? Huh? No. Desensitization, if it worked, it would have worked for all of us. We're all very skilled at desensitizing ourselves. If anything, this will resensitize you to your feelings, but it will sensitize you in a way that means that you can start to trust your feelings again and not treat your feelings as the enemy. And I think that's probably a good point for me to stop on. Don't treat your feelings as the enemy. Treat your emotions as your allies and let them work for you, which is all they've ever wanted to do. On that note, I'm going to stop there. Thank you very much for your time and your attention, and I look forward to speaking to you all again soon. Thank you. Somebody just called me a dick. The internet. What are you going to do? YouTube comments, man.